Most people think a locked door is enough to keep them safe. It's a boundary. A barrier, a clear line between what's yours and what isn't. Once it's shut, whatever's on the other side isn't your problem anymore. That's what Daniel thought. To enter, someone began speaking to him through his front door. Not yelling, not banging, just waiting. Every night at exactly 2:17 a.m., my neighbor knocked and whispered through my door, but I'd never seen him during the day. The building was old, but not the charming kind of old. It was the kind where the hallways always smelled faintly damp, where the lights flickered even after maintenance claimed they'd been fixed, and where every sound seemed louder at night. Pipes knocked. Floors creaked. Doors echoed when they closed. The tenants learned quickly to mind their own business. That's why what happened to Daniel still unsettles the people who lived there. Daniel moved into apartment 3B in late fall, mid-30s. Kyle, recently divorced. He worked long hours at a logistics company and mostly kept to himself. Neighbors described him as polite but distant, the kind of person who nodded in the hallway but never stopped to talk. The first time he heard the voice was around 11:40 p.m., barely a week after moving in. Daniel was brushing his teeth when there was a knock at his door. Not loud, not urgent, just 3 slow taps. He assumed it was a neighbor with a noise complaint. He opened the door. The hallway was empty. He leaned out, looked both ways. Nothing. No footsteps. No doors closing. As he turned back inside, the voice spoke. "Daniel." It came from behind the door. He froze. The voice was low and calm, like someone trying not to wake others. Male. Close enough that it sounded like the speaker's mouth was pressed inches from the wood. Daniel asked who it was. "Your neighbor." Daniel asked, "Which apartment?" "Across from you." Daniel told him that apartment was vacant. "I know," the voice said. Daniel didn't open the door again. The next night, the knocking returned. This time, Daniel didn't answer. "I just wanted to talk," the voice said softly. Daniel asked how the man knew his name. "I hear things," the voice replied, "through the walls." Over the next week, the voice stopped knocking, but it didn't stop speaking. Sometimes Daniel heard his name whispered as he walked past the door. Sometimes questions came through the wood. What time he left for work, why he always locked the door. Daniel reported it to the building manager. He was told apartment 3A was empty and had been for months. That night, Daniel pressed his ear to the door. For the first time, he heard breathing. Slow. Controlled. Right on the other side. Daniel didn't sleep after that. The voice began telling him things only someone watching him would know. That he reheated leftovers too many times. That he checked the peephole before bed. One night, the voice laughed quietly. "You do that when you're scared?" Daniel asked why the man only spoke through the door. Because doors make people feel safe. Daniel left the next morning and stayed with his sister. Police searched the building. Apartment 3A was empty. No signs of forced entry. No hiding places. Daniel installed a camera anyway. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. Then one night, his phone buzzed. Motion detected. The camera showed an empty hallway, but the audio picked up a whisper, distorted and close. "Your camera doesn't see the same way you do." Daniel moved out for good. Months later, a fire alarm woke the building at 3 a.m. The fire had started in Daniel's old apartment. Behind the front door, firefighters found the door frame removed. Behind it, a narrow space between the walls. Scratches. Packed insulation. Smudges on the door forehead. Nose. Mouth. Someone had been standing there, listening. Later, police uncovered old maintenance records. Apartment 3A had not been vacant. It had been sealed after a tenant disappeared years earlier. The wall between 3A and 3B had never been fully repaired, leaving just enough space for someone to learn how to speak through a door. After the building was repaired, the space behind the door was sealed permanently. No one moved back into apartment 3B. Tenants who passed it said the hallway felt colder there, quieter, as if sun didn't travel the same way near that door. Years later, a new tenant asked the building manager why the unit was still empty. He was told the wiring was faulty, that the layout was strange, that it just wasn't worth the trouble. What he wasn't told is that some nights, when the hallway is silent and the lights flicker just right, people still swear they hear something from behind that door. Not knocking, not breathing, just a voice, barely louder than a whisper, saying a name it shouldn't know. Stories like this don't end when the door closes. They stay with the people who hear them. If you want to keep hearing the ones that never quite feel finished, you know where to find them. And if this story reminded you of something you've never talked about, you're not the only one.